From the News Channel 5 Network, this is MorningLine.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to MorningLine. I'm Nick Barris, and this is Tuesday, and we've got a great show on tap for you. We're going to open up the phone lines for you here in a moment. We're going to be talking about some very, very high-profile criminal cases. We can get into the specifics of some of those cases, but we can also talk about just the job it is for attorneys taking on cases like this, and the difference between something, say, like a Holly Bobo case, and maybe one of these cases that you don't hear about as much in the media. And there sometimes can be a difference, though in a court of law, it all comes down to just what happens in the courtroom is what most attorneys will tell you. But some cases are on a larger stage than others, and we're going to talk about some that have made a lot of headlines that many of you are interested in. You're welcome to join in the conversation. The phone number up on the screen right there, and who else to talk about this but my friend and very well-known local attorney, Fletcher Long. Good morning, Fletcher.
Good morning.
Nice day. It's been a while since you've been on. You've been very busy, I dare say.
I have. I've gotten a lot of work, and that is fortuitous.
Listen,
for us. So.
You know, we can go back, and I was thinking about this coming up to join him in studio this morning. All right, you go back, and I only know some of the very big high-profile ones I've been involved with Perry March and Arthur March. You know, Jason Burdick, the wooded rapist. Okay, now you are involved in clearly, the two largest criminal cases right now in Middle Tennessee. Two of the largest criminal cases we've seen in recent years. And what I'm talking about is the Vanderbilt rape case, where you represent one of the players charged in the case. And now you are representing Jason Autry, one of the two suspects in the Holly Bobo murder case. And it doesn't get any bigger than that right now in terms of publicity.
No, it really doesn't. And an attorney that is working with John and me on the Autry defense is a guy named Mike Flanagan.
Yes.
Now, Mike Flanagan is a name that, if you're familiar with high-profile criminal defense work, he was one of the members of the March defense team. He is a fantastic trial attorney with a fantastic awareness and ability to try cases to rural and metropolitan jurors. So we're excited to be working with Mike, and Mike is a fantastic attorney, and he's a good friend. But I mean, friend didn't get him on this team. What got him on this team was his astute ability to try lawsuits.
And let's talk about this. We'll start getting in with the Holly Bobo case as it continues to develop. As I say, you represent Jason Autry, who's currently held in segregation over at Riverbend Maximum Security Prison, charged with some pretty horrible things right now, kidnapping, murder, along with Zach Adams. But let me ask you this, and some people may wonder outside looking, do you seek out these high-profile cases? How is it you are now involved in both the Vanderbilt rape case and the Holly Bobo case? How does that happen?
Well, high-profile criminal defense work, every lawyer thinks that they want to get involved in that aspect if they do criminal defense work. It might be something you need to think about, because it puts you on a lot of radars, some of which are good radars, others of which are radars on which you might not want to be. But you have to be kind of an adrenaline junkie. I get these cases because, frankly, there aren't but 7 or 8 names in the bar of Tennessee that even get called for this type work. And anytime you see a high-profile case, it's going to be one of these guys.
Right.
And clearly, Fletcher Long and Mike Flanagan and John Herbison are among the names that would garner a call. There are others.
Sure.
There are others. Last night I was watching your news coverage, which, by the way, is the best news coverage in the area. But I was watching it, and there was Peter Stryantz on air holding forth some coverage of him. And Peter Stryantz is certainly a name that would get a call in a case like this, and Roger May, and you got Leslie Ballin in Memphis, and Bill Massey and Lorna McCluskey. We all know who we are, and if you're not one of us, we know you're not.
Right.
But we all know who we are, and we get this kind of work.
So you get that reputation. You're sought out by some of these defendants. I mean, do you think it helps for you more so than a lot of other attorneys that I deal with? And you mentioned a bunch of very fine ones there. You almost have an adversarial relationship with prosecutors, or, if I dare say, the TBI.
Well, I think that it is our job to force the government to do its job. And I think that we have a system, and I've asked for it to work on my behalf. I've asked for it to work on my client's behalf. But accusations are accusations. They're unfounded. They don't mean that they're true. And the government is made up of human beings who are capable of being of making mistakes. And in our system of justice, the defense attorney presses the issues within the boundaries of the law to a maximum extent to determine whether the government has brought charges the correct way and whether or not they have solved the crime, or are they guessing at the outcome. And more times than you can even care to count, they oftentimes haven't solved the crime themselves. And here you are in front of the jury, they don't know. You know, I mean, in the Bobo case, for instance, we don't have a body. We don't have a confession. We don't have a murder weapon. You know, in this case, you've got a guy that attempted to proffer some information to the government and promised them some things that he couldn't deliver, and that he may now be on the working end. He may now be on the working end of an indictment himself. So, you know, all of these things factor into the fact that if you're a citizen in the United States of America, you have to have some right to fight your government. You don't. This isn't Russia. We don't throw people on a train. You know, you're showing my age. You know, we all thought Russia was terrible. There's probably not even a Russia anymore. So, I'm sorry, there is a Russia. This isn't the Soviet Union where you get thrown on a slave train and driven to the frozen tundra. You know, you have rights, and people have a right to insist that those rights are adhered.
Well, let's talk then, a little bit more about Jason Autry. And as I say, we're going to have a piece that's going to go into some background on the Bobo case, but invite you to join in the conversation on this. One reason Autry right now, I'm told, is over at Riverbend Maximum Security Prison in segregation is because they fear for his safety. There are people there because it's a high-profile case. He's accused of killing this young nursing student that might want to harm him, and they have to make sure he isn't harmed. And I'm wondering, if you go to Decatur County and walk around, a vast majority of people there probably have already had a rush to judgment and believe he's guilty. Do you believe there's already been a rush to judgment for Autry? And I know you don't represent Adams, but for him, I mean, and we saw him in court saying, I'm innocent, I'm innocent. Has there been a rush to judgment because they're so desperate to get suspects in this case? Well,
I think they're desperate to get this case to trial, and I think that some of that desperation may have political motives apart from their desire to see that justice is done.
You think there was pressure to make an arrest?
I think there was.
It's been 3 years, though.
I think there was, and I think they've run out here and thrown an indictment at the first three people that they felt like had any connection at all with her, and we'll see. You know, Decatur County, these are fine people, and they know that the government is fallible in Decatur County and counties like it. They're very familiar with this, and if there is a rush to judgment, I think that they can be persuaded by well-made arguments. I trust them that they can adjudicate these facts and come up with a just verdict, and that is our plan.
All right, listen, we need to take a break. When we get back, we're going to get more into the details, including whether or not you think if this goes to trial, which it likely will, because you litigate, you can get a fair jury there. And we're going to take some phone calls as well. The number 737-7587 as we get into the Bobo case. If you've heard details about this, and we can talk on some of these other cases Fletcher's involved with, questions or comments, I have a few, maybe just, you've obviously met with your client, Autry, you know, what he says about some of this, and you know, what the defense possibly could be, because you said there's no murder weapon, there's no body. How can they charge him with this? We'll be back with more with attorney Fletcher Long right after this.